Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you today. Listen, I'm back to reviews. I love movies. I got a good escape movie. I'm gonna check it out, and I did. It's called Escape from Pretoria. Pretoria is actually the capital of South Africa, and there's somebody escaped from that it's a famous prison, Pretoria Prison. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, please check me out on all your social media. We're hot on Instagram, TikTok. Now we're back on Facebook. All 4 of my Facebooks. We have the cigar, the program, Gangster Redemption book. We have even that. Check it out. Chapter 9 is when I go to prison. And it's really, this is what I liked about this movie. A lot of things I related to you. But I'm gonna tell you the bullshit in this movie as well. Also, check out our cigars. Our cigars are doing really well, and they are right here, everybody. The greatest right here. I love them, man, I really do. Things are going good with the cigar company. Everything's going good with everybody. And I hope you're liking what we're doing. Well, we changed things up a lot here. That's why. Back to some reviews. We're going to do a review, and I think you're going to get my take on this movie. Now, this movie is called Escape from Pretoria. Now, Pretoria Prison is a famous prison that is in South Africa. Now, South Africa had apartheid. What apartheid means, a lot of people don't even know what it means. It means segregation by race. South Africa was very segregated. And actually in 1993, Nelson Mandela was let out of prison, and then he became the president of South Africa. So South Africa is its own country. Now, apartheid, in 1978, these 3 guys escaped Pretoria Prison. Yes, they did exactly that. They escaped the notorious prison. They held only white people, the prison. That's how segregated South Africa was. Now, Daniel Radcliffe, and we all know who he is. He played Harry Potter in the whole series. Daniel Radcliffe plays one of the main leads, and a guy named Daniel Webber. Daniel Webber played a lot of good stuff too. He played Lee Harvey Oswald in a miniseries. He also played Motley Crue, and that was pretty good, and I love that, in the movie Dirt. So these guys are pretty good actors, and it was a pretty good movie. Now, I'm gonna get on to the movie right now. As you can see in the opening, these guys, all they were members of a radical group trying to overturn apartheid, meaning to integrate the country of South Africa. Well, they set off some explosions, not deadly explosions, explosions to throw leaflets in the air. That's all they did. One guy got 12 years in prison, exact same I got, and the other guy got 8 years in prison. They go to the prison, so they're known. This prison held a lot of political prisoners, if you want to call it that. And now, look what they did. Just an explosion. That's it. Now, everybody, you see how they get arrested? I don't know how they were on them. I always think differently than most people. And either they had a rat in their group, because the cops were right there when these went off. How did they know that happened? So either they had a rat in their group, or somehow they were tipped off. That's what I get. You can see it right here. They just show up. Obviously, Daniel Radcliffe's character, he is married, or he's in love, or his girlfriend is a black woman. And that's normal, but this is 1978. Remember that. This happened in 1978, so it wasn't as normal as you would think today. As you can see, Tim Jenkins, which is Radcliffe, he's suitcasing something. So I didn't invent suitcasing. Everybody did. But this is Harry Potter now. As you can see, the judges there wore the wigs like the old England rule, because that's what they were under, the English rule of law. And this is 1978, and this judge is no joke either. He hits him. He hits Harry Potter, and I keep calling him Harry Potter. His name is Tim Jenkins in the movie. And they keep hitting him, and they hit him the hardest because he was the guy behind the brains about the operation. You're going to see throughout this movie, he's kind of autistic, if you want to, what I believe. As you can see, Daniel Webber's character is Stephen Lee, which is the co-star of this movie. He's a runner. We used to call them runners in prison. These are guys who are going to escape. They take every opportunity to escape. Well, this guy jumps out the window, gets caught again, he's back. You know, first of all, what a little bit got me nervous on that thing, not nervous or questioning the movie, is when they know that happens, even back then, they had what they call special locks they put on your box, a black box they'll put on your thing. If they think you're an escape risk, they're gonna take care of you a little bit different. They didn't show that here, but maybe they did or maybe they didn't. That's why a few things here are gonna be a little bit sketchy to me, but as a man, I was in prison, it might not be sketchy to you. This scene Totally blew me away, and it's the quickest little scene there. They get put in back of the transport van, and they don't get strapped in, because you don't. Wham! The guard hits the gas, people go flying. That happens all the time. They mess with you. They don't give a shit about you. But at least I've seen it come forward. Now you're shackled, and you'll literally hit your head in the seat in front of you in a van. And they'll drive at any miles an hour they want. Do you know transport vans for prisoners, they're not allowed to be stopped by cops. Literally not allowed. I asked one guy one time, what do you do if a cop pulls up behind you? Because they go 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. And I asked the guy, I said, what happens? He goes, they're not allowed to stop us. And if they did stop us, we would get out with our machine guns, and we wouldn't let them come near the vehicle and identify who we are and who we have. Because we don't know if they're escape attempt. They don't know if somebody's there to try to escape one of the prisoners they have. So they have pretty much a right to do whatever they want, and they drive crazy, and trust me, they hurt people. Happens a lot. So that scene, boy, it clicked into me right away. Here's where Tim and Steven go to the prison, and they meet the captain. The captain is the security head of every prison. First day in prison. Their orientation sucked. At least in the United States, they put you in the hole, they give you what they call an orientation. They say they do. Obviously, it's just, here's your bedroll, here's your thing, don't talk to anybody, you'll figure it out, pretty much. These guys are kind of like giving them the third degree. You can see they don't like them. We got to know that the guards don't like us, but here it's right out. Now, I don't know if that's all for, cinematic drama or something, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, all of that beginning and stuff kind of brings back my memories of my first day in prison. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking at the timeline of this movie, you're gonna see what I mean. They're talking about the first day, and then in 30 days or 47 days, which is less than 2 months. Man, I tell us all the time, when you go to a tough prison like that, you don't even acclimate yourself for a year, maybe 2 years. And I mean that, you gotta figure out who to trust, who not to trust, who's the good guards, who's the bad guys, you stay quiet. These guys are making keys in their first fucking week in prison. And they're talking to everybody like this is fucking okay. If they did that in America, they'd be fucking in a hole so quick your head would spin. But not here, I didn't see that. Walking into the prison is still in their civilian clothes. If that's the way it was, that's kind of third world country stuff. And South Africa is not a third world country, just to let you know. When I see this guard, these are the prick guards. I mean, I had guards that pissed on me and beat me and stuff. And I'll tell you what, there are prick guards that they like their job so much they like to abuse people. This guy is just a nasty prick. And I why? Does he think that they're, talk about racism? That's racism to the utmost. To think you're associated with black people, so now you're going to be abused just because of that. That's just crazy to me. But this prick guard, boy, I had a bad feeling about him the whole time. Here's where they all come out of their cells. In this kind of scenario, we had this in a county jail, where you had to get out of your cell and you get counted. You had to come in front of the cell and get counted. In this one, they're bringing them out, and then they're bringing them to the chow hall. That's what they're doing. So they're really controlled movements. These are controlled movements. You only see them on the yard a little bit, but this is controlled movements. In this scene, he meets his first friend. You will find guys in there who will help you out. You gotta always be cautious of what helping out means. But this one guy who's been in prison for 25 years, because of the movement. This guy takes this, Tim Jenkins, he takes him in, so to speak, tells him where to sit, and kind of gives him his own view of things. This reminded me a lot of the movie Shawshank Redemption, when Morgan Freeman took in the guy who ended up escaping in that movie. Well, in this movie, he kind of took him under his wing, but the guy didn't have the balls that these guys had anyway, but you'll see that later. I also like the part here where they make a diversion. Everybody in the prison caught on right away when he made a diversion. They dropped the can and he started clicking the stuff, and he made a diversion so another guy could see what's going on and come over. That was kind of common. You'd see people make diversions and cover for people in maximum security prisons. You see that all the time. Minimum security prisons, or even the mediums, you're going to see so many people like, somebody's going to drop a note, or what we call them, dry snitch. Do certain things to you to get you fucked up. That happens all the time as well. Man, this one gave me chills. What does the guard do? He beats this guy right in the back of the legs with a billy club. They didn't have billy clubs in prison. They had the electric shields. They had the concussion grenades. They had a shock. I got electric shock. I got maced. I didn't get hit like that. I got booted, they call it. Beaten and thrown down and ribs broken. And then they strap you naked. That's what they do. They did this to the black guy for nothing. Just for nothing. And the sad part about this guy in this movie too. Here is a really good part. The guy's running the yard. Now, Daniel Radcliffe, Tim Jenkins has suitcased something. And he ended up suitcasing a lot of money. Actual money, and you'll see why they needed that at the end of the movie. But this guy has been in prison a while. He goes, I noticed your gait, the way you're running. You know, I never ran with anything suitcased. That I used to walk around with stuff suitcased. I went through planes and I went through Con Air, all of that stuff with stuff suitcased. But I never ran. I never ran on the yard. You have to take it out to go to the bathroom, and then you have to put it back in and all of that. And you wouldn't do that. Now this guy all of a sudden says, hey, I'll hold your stuff. And Daniel Radcliffe believes him and does it. That is kind of shaky, because I ain't giving money to some guy I just met like that. No way, this is prison. But he did it anyway. And it's amazing how the other guy sees the guy who escapes too. The guy looks like, I call him Jesus Christ in the movie. The guy looks like, he's got the beard, he's got the long hair. You can see how the dynamics are setting up. One guy don't trust the other guy, and you know, one talks behind their back a little bit. This is how people get killed in prison as well. Also right here is where the guy's telling them about the security of the prison. 20-foot walls, a guard that came from another place who shot kids, and that he's here to cool down. I mean, this is crazy shit, but that's what happens. They do have snipers, and I was on yards with snipers, and they will shoot down on the yard, and I've heard them, and I had to lay on my stomach, because if you don't, they will shoot you, because they're there only to protect another guard or two inmates killing each other. They will shoot down on the yard. There's no way of stopping them either. The guards up in those towers, man, and they're good shots. That's what I hear anyway. And I didn't hear them missing, so when they want to hit you, they'll hit you. That's what they were telling me. But I like the fact that at least the people are at least telling them about stuff. I mean, they're not holding that information back. I did the same thing. I worked on the East Yard in Atlanta, and there was a fence, and that's where I used to get my fence for making shanks, but also there was a fence, and there was a guard tower, but there was a fence, and the guard tower was right up against the fence, kind of, so you can get through that fence, and the guard can't see straight down, because the tower comes out on the top. So you're literally under the tower. And that was a spot people used to try to, hey, Lawton, can you get me back there? Yeah, well, I'll get you back there. I walk back there and I'll unhook a few things to see if I can get them away. Nobody ever escaped that way. I mean, you still got to get over a fucking 40-foot wall. Atlanta had 40-foot walls. So that's pretty wild. Here's where I say listen, this Tim Jenkins was this character. He's got to be on the spectrum. I don't know what part of the spectrum, but he's on the spectrum. I'm on it too somewhere. But this guy's looking into a lock and figuring out all the locks. And he's going to do that in a few ways. You see right here, I'm putting up right now.
What is this? Oh, nothing, no fighting.
Your butt can find yourself. Now. In this scene, everybody, it reminded me of Lewisburg prison, where you had group showers. You could get a little bit uncomfortable in a group shower, but like the Atlanta penitentiary and certain other penitentiaries, they had single showers, and they had them even so they could lock you in. But in Lewisburg, they would lock 4 of you into a shower. I think 3. They had 6 showers, 3 on each wall going down. And this kind of reminded me of this shower scene. And I'm gonna tell you something, it's a little uncomfortable, because I don't care what you say, you know, you're looking, you know, are you embarrassed, are you not, what's going on? It is, you get comfortable as you get older and you've been in prison a while, but this is kind of a scene that brings back memories. I'm so lucky now that I have privacy to do whatever I want. I have my own bathroom, my own shower. I don't have to wear bare feet in the shower, because you know what's on the floor and all. You could wear shower shoes there, you have to get them, but your first days in prison you might not have them. You gotta hope somebody lends you them. And then does he have athlete's feet? All that bullshit came back to flooding in my mind just by this stupid scene. This is why I kind of feel that this guy's on the spectrum, autism, I don't know what it is. I'm not a mental health expert, but he was looking at keys. Now you got to remember, they have different keys for different things. I was in prison. They call them turnkeys. I was in old prison, and they actually have what they had, turnkeys, and they're big and they're just like that. Well, they have different keys. You'll have a cell house key, cell door key. I mean, that's different than the doors in the cells. And then you have the tier key, they call it, where you go onto a specific tier. That's a key in of itself. So this guy, Tim Jenkins, Daniel Radcliffe, I keep calling him what he is, but he's got to make keys for all of these things out of wood. It's kind of wild, man. It really is. And, you know, I mean, he does it. So, and this is part of the true story. So I got to believe they did make keys. But I cannot believe they made these keys in this short of a time. This short of a time. I don't believe that. Because he's only in prison at this point 47 days. Less than, one was 60-something days. 80 to 74 days. That's less than 3 months. Man, he's fucking still worrying about his back in the prison. You know what I mean? That blew me away. Time frame here blew me away. And I didn't know if they did that just to speed up the movie or not. Hard for me to believe. Here you are, day 74. He's working in the shop. But they have that. But here's how tools work there. He ends up stealing a file, which would be an automatic Class A tool, they call those. That means in prison, you go to a tool cage and you check that out. And you get one of your things if you work in there, if you got privileges to work in a leather shop, and then you have to give that tool back to the guy in the cage. And they're all numbered and marked. And when a guard walks in there, if there's one tool missing, they will shut the whole prison down. The whole prison is shut down for that one tool. Kitchen, if a knife comes up missing out of one of the cooks, the whole prison is shut down until they find that knife. Until they find that knife, and they will. Now, in this case, they're kind of a little haphazardly with tools. And that kind of, is it true? Maybe because of South Africa. But I don't see that either, because they couldn't have did that in the United States. I do like what they did. They all had coffee containers. Obviously, they figured out ways to put a false bottom in there and stuff whatever they want with the coffee up the top. That's normal. We figured out so many ways to get stuff contraband through prisons. It's just that you would never leave that area with that tool because the whole prison gets shut down. Whether you use something else or something that's throwawayable and you want to keep it, those are the things we used to get. We used to get wood, or we used to get wood for handles for shanks. You get a piece of metal, but it's a scrap piece of metal that's supposed to be in a garbage pail. And then they run you through a metal detector. But we figured out ways to get a guy who works on the CMS to go in there to fix something and bring the metal out. So there's ways around rules. Obviously, in this case, a little bit different. And here you see him filing the key with a stolen instrument. I mean, pretty ingenious, and you have to be on some kind of spectrum. It's like these guys who can read the whole encyclopedia or some shit. Here he's testing a key that he made. What I get a kick out of here is the whole prison is watching him. Everybody. I don't know if that would happen as well, because there's so many snitches in prison. Even in this prison, I'm sure. Somebody, what they call drop a note, you know. And I was in prison a long time ago, so 20 years after them, less than 20 years after them. They were 78 and I was in 97. So 96, so 28 years, not 20, 18 years. And they drop notes. So the less people that know, listen, you see what the shirt says? 3 can keep a secret. If 2 are dead, that means you don't want anybody to know your business. Right here is the shirt. You want to check it out? Go check it out. This is my shirt. It's in our merch. This scene here, where they made the maneuver to put the key in with the wood, I'll tell you what, man, that's pretty ingenious. Here, they're trying to convince these guys of the plan and they can all go. And I'm really shocked more people didn't take it, especially with a lot of time. If you had it in, or you're never getting out, or it's going to be a long time if you think you're getting out. They must have had hope in some way, because, man, you ever told someone you had a foolproof way to get out of Atlanta prison when I was there? Fuck. we had 880 lifers. You'd have 880 people wanting to get the fuck out of there. Plus another fucking 500 that want to get out anyway. You know, from a 50-year sentence, a 30-year sentence. I'm talking letters, difference. In this scene, you'll see the black guy. He trades the newspaper, because he's in the trash guy, for cigarettes and soap and how they hit it. What you'll see in prison, and he says this, there's schedules. And that is why people don't have to make so many choices. And I have to talk about that. That's where institutionalization comes along, because you're not making choices. You're on a schedule. Things happen every day. Chow is at the same time. No matter what, every day, chow is the same time. You're going to see the same people do the same jobs for years, literally years. Except when guards rotate or you get out of a prison, then you're going to see the difference. But other than that, it's such a schedule, and you can plan around that. That's why in prisons now, they actually, every prison I was in, they change you every 2 or 3 weeks and in the hole. They'll move your cell from one cell to down the hall. Because in case you started an escape plan, you did something, you were getting close to something, they don't know that. So they just would, instead of just shaking you down, they would move you every 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the prison. And that sucked. You know, I keep thinking about these keys. I see them making keys. We had a key, but it was only a key to take the screws off of a plate on a door inside our cells to hide certain stuff behind the wall on a string, another key to get in something. That key we had would only open the door, like, you know, the plate on a door, because it had to have a screw that it was a special tool that you had to use. Well, we got that. We got that from one of the CMS employees. Not the guy. It made it work back there. And now it wasn't a big key. You couldn't get out of the prison with that key. Man, I can't even imagine having a real key. And then we used to take that off. We used to hide stamps behind the door. Then we'd take the key for that, and we had holes. It was an old prison, so we had like plaster walls. So we used to take the key, put it on a string, tape it to a hole, in the hole, tape it to the back of the wall, tape toilet paper, wet the toilet paper, and really smooth out, and then paint it. And it looked like it was just another hole in the wall, because the fucking walls all got holes, and it's plaster, old prison shit. So that's how we did it. But keys the way they're making, this guy is, you know, man, he should be a locksmith. I don't know what he did when he got out, but that's what he could do. You know, I keep seeing him going in at this little closet. And obviously it reminded me of Harry Potter. Aloha Mora. You know, that's getting into box, getting into things, it's called the key or something like that. I remember Harry Potter. So if you remembered Harry Potter, if you read it or saw it, comment below, because that kept coming at me when I was watching him get into every little thing, every box. That's a little key. Did you see the little key a couple scenes before? Check that out. Here's the captain of the prison, head of security. Trust me, if he's shaking your cell down, you're in trouble. And he wouldn't buy that thing. It was for a key head that he had, would be for a picture holder. No. Although I remember a lot of stuff we used to do. We used to take apart a trimmer we used to get, and we made tattoo guns out of that, and we'd actually put it back and forth back together so they would never know what it was, and we could keep our guns. So that tattoo gun. So that was that. Here's the dynamics between two guys who've been in prison a long time. So that's pretty wild. But this one I didn't get. The long-haired guy I'm calling, who escaped with him, with the Jesus-looking guy, he said he was in prison for 20 years. And then he's got a 7-year-old kid. Unless they got conjugal visits, it's the only thing I'm thinking. And that's something even the United States don't have. But that's kind of wild right there, if you ask me. Here's the toothpaste thing. In the beginning, I didn't show it, but he hides money inside the tube. It's pretty wild. And he gives it back to the guy. You know, he's conflicted. The one guy is conflicted. Should he escape? Should he not? He was the leader of the resistance. So, you know, I feel for him a little bit, but fuck it. Make a choice. Make a fucking choice. Here is something I've never seen before. Opening up the back of the toothpaste. I mean, they hide things everywhere. But what guards do is just they'll throw it out or open up the thing and squeeze it and it's done. It's not like they give a shit about your property. But in this case, he takes the money, opens up the back of a toothbrush thing, puts the money in there, puts the water in there. Looked like water, but it kind of like gave a smoky thing. It was like, I don't know what it was. It's something I've never seen, and I've been in prison a long time. Give it to me in the comments below if you know. Anybody know? I'd like to know. Look at this kite. I talk about kites all the time. You slide them under the door. We made them. We can make them out of underwear. We can make them out of bed sheets. I've never seen a kite set up like this. Flat, harder wood, kind of like a protractor, and it goes out and into the next cell. That would never last in any cell. Not a chance that would last in anybody's cell. So I don't know how they kept that in there. We had to have stuff like a rope that you wore yourself or something you could suitcase. We used to make the line ourselves, and if we got caught with it, we didn't care. Take a bed sheet, rip up a long line, and we used to shoot that thing to a cell across. And if we needed it to the cell next to me, how those kites actually work is, I throw a line out. They call them fishing lines. I'm fishing, so I throw it out. It's got a weight on the end, usually a flattened toothpaste or something, and I would slide it under the door. Now the guy who wants to get it, if he's the cell next door to me, he shoots his kite, and it catches the line, and then he pulls it in. So then you have a back and forth line. You don't have it one way. You have it back and forth. This one I've never seen before, but pretty ingenious, but I just couldn't know how you could keep it there. So on that one. The scene when they're getting out now. The guy breaks the light to burn the fuse, I guess, to put the lights out in the place. I don't think one breaking bulb would do that, but it did it. And he did that. How did he know they needed him? You know, it's kind of like it's either lucky, if it's really true, or just a dramatic scene. But of course, they covered for him, and Harry Potter, hello, Mora again. You know, here he is in the closet below the stairs. That's Harry Potter. But it worked. Pretty wild. The front door, they get to the door. First of all, right before this, they all hug like they made it. They didn't even open the fucking door yet. I didn't get that. Anyway, they get through the doors. They start ripping them. This one guy says, no, I am not going back. And he starts hitting it with a wood chisel, and it works. It works. I guess prisons could have been made that flimsy back then, but that's the main door. You'd think that one's secure like the other ones. Most secure. But again, that's how he did it, and I'm not questioning that. And they're ripping this door, and of course Harry Potter's getting all freaky out. He goes back front. He don't know what to do. Here you can tell that's his, I'm telling you, the guy's on a spectrum of some sort. Listen, he's a genius. I don't know if autism's geniusness. I don't know. Maybe I got autism. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, it's kind of pretty wild that the door isn't secure the way it should be. And it's the door leading to freedom. Literally, in the downtown. Because they said it in the beginning, all sides, but this side's got the street on it. In this final scene, I'm thinking, I didn't know the outcome of everybody. I really didn't know if he got away. I didn't look it up. I didn't do any of that. Here they are. They get to the cab. And they're sketchy looking. They're right outside of prison. I'm sure everybody in the whole place knows that's Pretoria prison, the biggest prison in South Africa, at the capital. And they're sketchy three white guys. This black guy wants to please the white guys, let's say. They get in a car and he drives around the block, drops them off. He doesn't do that. And I'm glad. But it kind of could have happened. You know, you didn't know what was happening. I really didn't know the ending, which is pretty wild. I ended up looking up a lot of stuff afterwards because I like to do that anyway. And the ending is right here. There you go. Harry Potter's wand. That's a souvenir. And, you know, truthfully, I bet that is somewhere. I'll bet that's in some kind of museum in South Africa. It would be. I mean, I'd want to put it in there. A true story like this. Make it a key like that. And I'm just wondering how many keys he really made. And if he did get away with it. And it was so quick. But those are questions. Maybe someday if I travel, I'll find them out. Here you got Harry Potter. And I keep calling him Harry Potter. His name's Tim Jenkins. And look at the look-alike. The casting people here are pretty good. Look at the look-alike. And now you have Daniel Webber, who played Stephen Lee. Looking at that. Pretty good look-alikes, man. And this guy even. Art as Dennis Goldberg. I mean, that's pretty good too, man. That's pretty good. I didn't get the guy who looked like Jesus. I don't know who he is, but it doesn't say he was playing anybody. Maybe he was an add-on or not, or somebody didn't want or give approval of their likeness and of their part in the role. Maybe that happened, and that can happen. So that is pretty good. Pretty amazing stuff. Great movie. Go check it out. It's on Netflix. Escape from Pretoria. If you want me to review a movie, you want me to review a TV series, just put it in the comments below. I do take those down. You guys have a great day. We're back this Thursday with a live, giving away a couple books, a couple cigar boxes. We're giving them away. So I'll see you Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern.